What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for December 13th, 2022. Quick Eagles injury updates, or I should say a couple quick injury updates for the Eagles. Blankenship only has a low-grade sprain, which is good. That means he's not necessarily going to be out for a long, extended period of time. Should be back, from what I'm hearing, by at some point this season, regular season. I don't know if he'll be back for the Dallas game, but we'll see. But it's good that he's coming back because Gardner Johnson is scheduled to be back for the Saints game, which probably is not going to mean much. So hopefully what happens is the Eagles get that bye and they can actually hold him out another week to rest up, get in shape, and whatnot. So a couple of good news pieces there, as well as Lane Johnson is only day-to-day with his oblique sprain. I saw an interview with him yesterday where he basically echoed what I was thinking, that had that game against the Giants meant more or it was closer, he would have been back in. So I do want to see what happens this week, whether he plays against the Bears or not, because I feel the Bears are right now in full tank mode. And you do have that game against Dallas coming up, and I'd much rather have Lane Johnson healthy for Dallas than the Bears. And yes, that does go against everything I said yesterday about not looking ahead, but at the same time, you still have to manage your injuries. You're 12-1. You're fighting for next step up is the division title, so you want to make sure you get that. But you also don't want to overlook the Bears and just have a letdown game. But if it means resting a guy or two who will be better served for the Dallas game, I'm all for that. They also signed a punter yesterday to replace Sippis. Brett Kern, who has experience with AFC experience with the Broncos and Titans, was a Pro Bowler a couple times, had a good net punting average. So hopefully he's able to pick up where he had left off before and just sort of. Punter is one of those positions where you don't really think about the punter until the punter's bad. So hopefully Kern comes in here and we don't even really think about it and we're on to the next whatever. So, but good news on the injury front for the Eagles, so we'll definitely take it. We'll have more on the Eagles later this week. The new Back to the Future will be recorded on Thursday night. We are going to be discussing the Eagles. This is the anniversary of the week they almost moved to Arizona back in the mid-'80s. So we're going to kind of take a dive into that and see what would have happened had they moved. And just, I mean, here we are, but it was a very real thing. So tune in later this week. More details on that to come. Make sure you're liking and subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. Sixers are in action tonight down at the FU Center against the Kings. Flyers are out in Colorado to take on the Avalanche. Should be a pretty tough game for them. But again, we just want to make sure we're seeing some improvement from the young guys, not necessarily wins. But speaking of the Sixers, we're going to go back to 1994 today. On this day, December 13th, 1994, the Sixers beat the Miami Heat 105-90 at the Spectrum, where the FU Center was in the process, or Wells Fargo now, but was still in the process of being built. So this is just, the Sixers were terrible that year. Absolutely terrible. But in this game, Willie Burton, remember him? He dropped 53 points. He shot 12 for 19, 5 for 8 from three-point range, had 8 boards. He dropped 53 points. Now, Dana Barros dropped 17. Remember him? Dana Barros, there's an old hip-hop CD or record, whatever you want to call it back then. That's my age, but I had it on CD. It was called Hip Hop's Greatest Hits, I think, or Basketball's Greatest Hits. And it was just a bunch of guys in the NBA that put together like a rap album. It wasn't too bad. Dana Barros' song was actually pretty good. So be sure to give that a listen. I'm sure you could probably find it on Spotify. But Basketball's Greatest Hits, Shaq was on it. Cedric Ceballos was the banger on that whole entire album. So definitely check it out. I think as soon as I'm done here recording, I'm going to put it on just going to reminisce a little bit since Dana Barros' name came up. But Sean Bradley had 6 points, 10 boards, and 5 blocks. which was basically the typical Sean Bradley line. If they could have ever gotten somebody to play with him, imagine having him maybe with AI. Maybe it's just the timing couldn't just to work out. But back to Willie Burton's 53 points. He only had 3,243 career points, which is the lowest point total of anyone in NBA history to score 50 points in a game. Not very easy to drop 50 in an NBA game. I mean, you got Wilt Chamberlain dropping 100. You got Kobe dropping 81. Jordan dropped 60 multiple times. AI dropped 60 multiple times. But it's not easy. So here is a list of notable stars, Hall of Famers, who have never scored 50 points in a game. Charles Barkley never scored 50 points in a regular season NBA game. He did in the playoffs, I believe, when he was with Phoenix. But so he kind of scored 50 in a point, so we're not going to keep him on the list. But Kevin Garnett, Magic Johnson, Kawhi Leonard, Chris Paul, Bill Russell, Philly's own Dr. J, Chris Bosh, Steve Nash, Scottie Pippen, Mitch Richmond, Dwight Howard. None of these guys have ever scored 50 points in a game. And I mean, it's a pretty decent, if you're doing an all-time team, that's a solid team right there. And those guys never scored 50 points in a game. But Willie Burton did. Willie fucking Burton scored 50 points in a game. But I was like the highlight of that season. The 94 Sixers were terrible. Absolutely terrible. They were 24-58. They ended up with the third pick, and that's when they got Jerry Stackhouse. So they were close to the AI. I think AI came out the following year. So they were close to getting AI and being back to being relevant. The Wells Fargo, F Union, Core States, whatever you want to call it, Center was about to open. Things were about to get fun in Sixers land. But back on this day, December 13th, 1994, the highlight, I would say, of the 1994 season, Willie Burton drops 53 on the Miami Heat. Yes, Willie Burton. Don't know what he's up to now, but would love to know. But there you go. Sixers beat the Heat 105-90. We have some good injury updates for the Eagles moving forward this week. Hopefully they continue to come. Sixers play the Kings tonight down in South Philly. Flyers are out in Colorado. Be sure to check out Basketball's Greatest Hits. You won't be disappointed. Go have yourselves a Tuesday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.